opportunities that we've got in order to both really upgrade the facilities for our creatives, but also to open an amazing facility which will contribute to the city's already rich array of performance spaces.
The City of Liverpool is known across the world for its music, and we attract students here from all parts of the globe to study music, so it's only right that we should have a really good high quality performance space where they can study, learn and perform their music.
Liverpool is the most musical city. It has music in every definition, popular music, and we think of course of the Beatles and that tradition of popular music, but music of so many different kinds. Folk music, classical music, Philharmonic Hall, we have partnership with the Philharmonic University. So this will complement that legacy, that heritage, not just as a historical heritage, but a heritage with a real future. It will play an important part.
My vision for this new performance space that we're in the process of building at the moment is that it's going to deliver a really high quality performance space on campus, and obviously at the forefront of my mind as head of music is the ways in which our own students will use that space. It's going to really encourage them to be very aspirational in what they're trying to achieve, and also it's giving our students great experiences of the workplace that they can take forward beyond graduation.
Having a new performance space will bring us a wealth of opportunities, many at a really quite practical level. At the moment we're quite restricted in terms of the size of the ensembles that we can invite. We're going to have a much bigger performance space, so having that stage means that we can go to having bigger groups, more variety of groups. And also the audience size is just much bigger, so we're going to be able to promote our lunchtime concert series to a much bigger, broader audience, so it's very exciting.
I'm really proud to be a campaign ambassador for this new music space performance space at Liverpool University. Music is obviously personally essential to my life, and although I was a Russian graduate, the music was as important to me. And you know, I always smile when so many medical students are very, very good instrumentalists. You know, lots of amateur orchestras consist of doctors. And of course, Liverpool University has a great medical school. So that's just one example. But I think it's really will be exciting for students to know that there is this performance space where they can have, you know, new opportunities, new ideas to perform that they might not have done otherwise.
Music's really important to me in my day-to-day life because medicine can be a bit stressful. Certainly at times surgery can be a bit stressful, and it's wonderful to have something to turn to at the end of the day. Music in my case being the most important. So I think to provide the facilities for that to become a central part of a student experience would be a wonderful thing to have.
The partnership with the Philharmonic, between the university and the Philharmonic, is a particularly significant one. The university's ethos is one of study and teaching, and of course the performance space will be a vehicle for the expression of both of those things. The Philharmonic is devoted to the more practical side of performances. So it's this meld of skills, experience and expertise which will produce a much more valuable body of relationship, working operation than could be done by either of the two institutions on their own.
Why I support it mainly is because it's to do with music, and music's a big passion for me. But I can see it's also going to benefit a lot of other things in the arts, in performance and in speech and all sorts of other things, which is also important, and generally speaking the arts are a big thing for me.
I've chosen to support wholeheartedly the Music Performance Space project because I think it is essential to the well-being and health of the human spirit. I believe music is the purest art form, and all the arts should be encouraged. They are the soul of a nation.
It's not always easy to raise money for culture, for performance, for music. It's still not easy to raise money to allow our clinicians to work on diseases that will save children's lives, or pieces of equipment that will help us to advance in terms of medical technology. But I would say to people, support this creative work, because medical science will keep you alive, but arts and culture will make that life worth living.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this exclusive online celebration of music in Liverpool. As you will know, we had hoped to welcome you onto the University of Liverpool campus for a special fundraising dinner and live concert, but given the current circumstances, I am delighted to be able to join you for an exciting online alternative. The severity and widespread implications of COVID-19 are both deeply saddening and worrying for us all. The pandemic has been devastating, and we know there's more work to be done before life can begin to feel anything like normal. This work to be done is, more specifically, vital research into the virus itself, how it spreads, how we can support policymakers and health workers to make the right decisions, how we can limit the impact on more susceptible groups, and, of course, research into potential vaccines and drugs to tackle this virus once and for all, so that people across the globe can return to a more usual form of life, spend time with their loved ones, and socialise once more face to face. I am proud and humbled to say that research into each of the areas I've mentioned, and many I have not, is being undertaken as I speak by talented, world-leading researchers at the University of Liverpool. Indeed, we've completely shifted the emphasis and focus of much of our prior research effort, particularly in health and life sciences, to do all that we can to find answers to and a way out of the pandemic. I'm also proud of the manifold other ways in which the university community has come together to support our city, our health workers, and the global community. From providing student accommodation for frontline healthcare staff who need somewhere to stay away from their loved ones, to our medical and nursing students who are volunteering on the front line. From colleagues in engineering who are 3D printing visors to protect healthcare staff, to our psychology academics who've developed a range of online resources to support frontline healthcare workers and managers. This pandemic has forced everyone to evaluate that which is most important in their lives. And for me personally, it's certainly reaffirmed the vital role of culture, whether it's been the solace of a good book or two, or the joy of a favourite piece of music. The arts have played an important and comforting role for me over the last few weeks. We need to continue to look towards a brighter future and the cultural events that we will once again be able to enjoy side by side. And that's why I'm heartened by the progress still being made on our fantastic new Teaching and Performance Centre. And please rest assured that important modifications to the construction work have been made to ensure on-site workers are safe. This fantastic new facility will provide an important opportunity for our students to perform, whether they're studying music or not. And it will also provide an unrivaled opportunity for them to experience every element of organising live performances, from artist liaison and administration to programming and technical aspects. Students interested in pursuing careers in sound recording and live broadcasting will also benefit from professional, real-world experience. It really will create a pipeline of exceptional talent for music production in the years to come. And at the very heart of this wonderful new facility will be the state-of-the-art 400-seat Tung Auditorium, a truly stunning space. It will boast capacity for a 70-piece orchestra and offer publicly accessible performances across genres. The auditorium will be an important and long overdue contribution to Liverpool's world-renowned music scene, offering residents of the city and beyond an opportunity to hear exceptional talent and quite incredible compositions several times a week. Over the last 18 months, the fundraising campaign for the Tung Auditorium has been very successful, and I'm pleased to report we've achieved 2.1 million of the 3 million target. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's contributed so far. At times like these, it's entirely understandable, and indeed only right, that funding is directed at much needed health projects. Arts and culture, however, must not be neglected, and there's arguably never been a more important time to bolster them than now. Over the last couple of months, we've made a point of ensuring that our cultural assets have remained available to all, and we've developed an online cultural hub to support people in getting creative, in exploring history, and in enjoying live music from the comfort of their own homes. Indeed, our weekly lunchtime concerts are still running every day. Sorry, not every day, but every Wednesday at 1 p.m. And I'm delighted to say that lunchtime concert regulars, Solem Quartet, are one of the acts joining us today for a special performance. These lunchtime concerts and many other exciting performances will move to the Tung Auditorium at a time when we hope people will be able to gather again to enjoy the arts and music. And I think our need for this pleasure will be greater than ever before. With this in mind, it's been exciting to watch our fundraising campaign develop, and I would like to thank our ambassadors in particular for all your support. We're keen to achieve our target over the next couple of months, and any further help you can give, either by making a donation or by encouraging others in your network to support us, would be very gratefully received. This will mean that we can ensure the auditorium provides the best possible experience for us all when we're once again able to meet face to face. In the meantime, I hope you'll enjoy our virtual programme of musical entertainment today, and I look forward to joining you all later for a live discussion along with the artists performing. And on that note, I'll hand over to our first performance of the evening from Solem Quartet.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everybody. My name is Catherine Tackley and I'm Head of Music at the University of Liverpool, and I'll be hosting the event today, and it is a great pleasure to have you all with us. You've just been listening to the Solem Quartet, who have been ensemble in residence at the university for the past 4 years. What's been so wonderful for us in the department about this, as well as being able to enjoy their excellent performances, our students have gained tremendously from their input into our teaching. They've been involved in things such as trying out our composer's work in progress and collaborating with our performance students. But it's also fair to say that they've really been game for anything on their regular visits to the university. For example, even controlling computer games from their instruments. And more recently, as you've seen, creating for us some wonderful lockdown performances. We were really delighted when the quartet agreed to continue their residency with us through this really exciting period in the development of music at Liverpool. Clearly, as Janet has said, the current circumstances are presenting challenges for us all, and there are particular challenges for those of us involved in the arts and in music education. I'm deeply proud of my colleagues in the music department for the way in which they've responded to ensure that our students can complete their studies on time, including those students who are specialising in performance or specialising in work in the studio. And you heard some examples of our students' electronic music composition in the waiting room just prior to this event. Staff have not only kept things going, but have continued to strive for excellence in teaching, which has involved some very rapid familiarisation with all sorts of technology, arranging for students to have access to the instruments, equipment and software that they require to continue their work. And of course, lots of time and effort in supporting students on groups, but also on an individual basis. It's been a great pleasure for me to therefore receive messages of thanks from students and their parents also acknowledging this hard work. Another very significant aspect of our lockdown operation has been the continuation of our lunchtime concert series online under the direction of Dr. Helen Thomas, and also contributions to a university-wide digital arts festival, Culture Unconfined. These events are very important, I think, in that they have provided opportunities for musicians who would be otherwise unable to perform at the moment, but of course have also provided audiences with access to superlative musical performances from home. And I'll just mention that our next concert next Wednesday will feature Thelma Handy, who is the leader of the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. As ever, these concerts are extremely important, not only for our music students, but for the wider university community and that of the city, and internationally via our online platforms. In fact, we've been live streaming our lunchtime concerts for some time prior to lockdown, but now it feels like the world is truly our oyster, perhaps a small glimmer of a silver lining. So to the new Tongue Auditorium, which is very much at the centre of our future plans for the department. The new performance space will do so much more than to fill a notable gap in our campus facilities, although this is important in our aim to continue to attract and retain the very best staff and students to Liverpool. Our vision for the hall is for students to be involved in all aspects of its operation, including, of course, performing and having their compositions played, but also in terms of programming, marketing and technical aspects through the work placements and graduate internships that we'll be creating. The Tongue will provide a venue for a unique programme of events which reflects not only the interests of the Department of Music, but of the whole university and engages with diverse audiences. The Tongue will enable us to progress our existing partnerships, for example, with our near neighbours, the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra, and the local music education hub Resonate, and to create new partnerships, particularly with local community music organisations. So in the course of the next hour today, we shall hear some more performances recorded for us by other artists who are associated with our department, covering a wide spectrum of music, which is something we pride ourselves on in the Liverpool Department of Music. And this will be followed by the opportunity to ask questions of our musicians, our guests, the Vice-Chancellor and myself. But next, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Lizzy Hardingham, an alumna of the department who is now forging a very successful career as a musician on the folk scene. Lizzy, over to you.
Hiya, I'm Lizzy Hardingham and I graduated Liverpool University Department of Music 3 years ago in 2017, and I've had a great time since then. I'm now part-time a touring folk musician and singer-songwriter, and unfortunately, of course, there aren't very many gigs at the moment, so I'm really honoured to be asked to be part of this. I hope you're all staying safe and sane at home and that you're enjoying what you've seen so far. Stay tuned because there's still more to come. This first song that I'm going to sing is one that I sang with my university ensemble. We were sort of a 3-part vocal harmony acoustic ensemble type thing, and this is one of the songs that we sang together. I hope you don't mind, but I've taken the liberty of adding the other girls' parts in, so I hope you enjoy it. This is Carousel. In those brown eyes Thank you. That was Carousel. And the next song I'm going to sing is a traditional number. It's going to be on my upcoming EP 7, which is going towards the charity, the RNLI. So half of the proceeds raised from the EP will go to the brilliant work done by the RNLI. And it's 7 songs. Each of them are sea-based, one for each of the oceans. And this particular one is an old sea shanty called Rolling Down to Old Maui. Hope you enjoy it. It's a damn tough life full of toil and strife we whalemen undergo, and we won't give a damn when the day is done how hard the winds did blow, 'cause we're homeward bound on the Arctic ground on the good ship taut and free, and we won't give a damn when we drink our rum with the girls of old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. For we're homeward bound on the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale towards our island home. Our mainmast sprung, our whaling done, and we ain't got far to roam. For it's 6 hellish months we've sailed the main on the great Kamchatka Sea. But now we're bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. For we're homeward bound on the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale to the ice, the wind and the rain. Them coconut fronds on them tropical lands we soon shall see again. Our sun so bloom is carried away, what care we for that sound? A living gale is after us, thank God we're homeward bound. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. For we're homeward bound on the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. How soft the breeze through the island trees, now the ice is far astern. Them native maids from the tropical glades is awaiting our return. Only now their big brown eyes look out, hoping some fine day to see our baggy sails running for the gales, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. For we're homeward bound on the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. For we're homeward bound on the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. Thank you very much. That was Rolling Down to Old Maui. I've been Lizzy Hardingham. Thanks so much for having me. I hope you're having a lovely day. Stay tuned because there's going to be lots more music, lots more chat. Enjoy. Bye.
Thank you so much, Lizzy, for that beautiful performance. And it's really great to hear an example, actually, of the sort of sea song that would have resounded in Liverpool's docks back in the day. So the Department of Music and the School of the Arts has been delighted to work with the Development and Alumni Relations team at the university for some time now on the fundraising campaign around the new Tongue Auditorium. Raising these funds is really important for us, as it will allow us to realise a high specification hall which is fit for the future and will contribute that much needed facility for both the university and for the city. And so it's now my great pleasure to introduce my colleague Christina Turner Director of Development and Alumni Relations, who will explain a little bit more about the progress of that fundraising campaign. Christina.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm Christina Turner. I'm Director of Development and Alumni Relations at the University of Liverpool. And I could quite frankly listen to Lizzy all evening. She is really doing us proud as a graduate. As you can tell, music and the arts more broadly is important to us at Liverpool, and I couldn't agree more with our campaign ambassador, Dame Patricia Routledge, in that music is the health of the human spirit and the soul of a nation. As the Vice-Chancellor confirmed also, the construction of the centre has continued appropriately throughout the pandemic, and we're on track to open to students in September 2021. We're also especially pleased to hold this concert at lunchtime in the UK, as it allows our supporters based across China and Hong Kong especially, some of whom have given incredibly generously to this campaign, to join us. So I'd really like to thank the Tongue Foundation, after whom the auditorium is named, for their most generous support. As well as this, special thanks must also go to our alumnus, Dr. Paul Brett, after whom the largest teaching lecture room of 600 seats is named, but also alumnus Dr. Jonathan Rushworth, after whose family name the conductor's dressing room is dedicated. So again, as the Vice-Chancellor confirmed earlier, we are really thrilled to have surpassed 2.1 million of our 3 million target. So we have 900,000 left to raise. And one way you can support this campaign, if you'd like to financially, is by naming a seat in the Tongue Auditorium. It holds 400 seats, and each of these can be named for a minimum gift of £250, and dedications are engraved on a plaque and affixed to each seat, where it will remain for the lifetime of the auditorium. And to date, we have received 87 gifts and dedications, so we're very delighted in that, but we still have many seats left if you would like to name and dedicate one after a family member. But in addition to our donor community, we're also thrilled to enjoy the support of many campaign ambassadors, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for their support and advocacy. It really provides us with invaluable support at this time. So they are, of course, Dr. Joan Rogers, CBE, who you will hear from shortly, and also Dame Patricia Routledge, whom I've mentioned. But also we're thrilled to have the support of Dr. Yoko Ono Lennon and Professor Avril Mansfield, Nick Riddle, Robin Bloxage, and Professor Shirley Thompson. So it just leaves me to introduce our last performer, who is Xiaoxiao Hou, who is not only a current PhD student at Liverpool, but also a professional Chinese zither or Guzheng player. I'm also pleased to say that Xiaoxiao is supporting our Name a Seat campaign. So Xiaoxiao, over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Xiaoxiao. It's always a pleasure to hear you play, and as ever, your performance was absolutely captivating, and I could see some reflections of that in the chat as well. So it's now my great pleasure to introduce Campaign Ambassador Joan Rogers, CBE, to say a few words. For anyone who doesn't know, Joan Rogers' illustrious career includes work at with the world's greatest conductors in many of the world's top opera houses, and she's equally at home on the concert platform. And she's also a graduate of the University of Liverpool. So I was particularly delighted and honoured to hear that Joan had agreed to become a campaign ambassador. And so I'd like to invite her to say a few words now. Over to you, Joan.
Hi. I spent 3 very happy years at Liverpool at the university and forged some lasting friendships. It's a great place. I was thrilled to be awarded an honorary doctorate of music in 2005, and I'm now proud to have been invited to be a campaign ambassador for this exciting project. Today, I'm speaking for all our campaign ambassadors, Dame Patricia Routledge, who you've heard from, Dr. Yoko Ono-Lennon, Professor Avril Mansfield, Professor Shirley Thompson, Nick Riddle, and Robin Bloxage. I was actually studying Russian at Liverpool University and entered a small, caring, friendly department. We were a bit like a family, really. I was so lucky to have the support for my singing from my professors, who were all absolutely passionate about music. So as not to neglect the Russian side of things, they encouraged me to give recitals of Russian song, which has stood me in very good stead to this day. But how I would have loved to have had the opportunity to sing in a space like the Tung Auditorium. But in those days, I was a young undergraduate who didn't feel that confident recognizing herself as a musician. Singers often get categorized on their own. But I had this burning desire to sing. I was a little hesitant to get involved in the musical life of the university outside of my Russian music circle. But if I had known there was a landmark centre for music and the arts right there, it might have emboldened me to knock on the door, just as Mimi dared to in La Bohème. I'm not sure it ended too well for her, though. Acquiring this teaching and performance space for the university will only further enhance the city's worldwide renown for outstanding music making. From the great composer and conductor Max Bruch, who at the height of his career was conducting the Liverpool Philharmonic Society, as it was called then, to the Beatles and beyond. The Tung Auditorium will provide a wonderful space for performers from all over the world, and at the same time give valuable performance opportunities for aspiring students. And of course, it will be the perfect venue for the regular university concerts. The teaching space will attract the best talent so that students can learn from those performers and professors who will pass on their expertise and valuable experience. And it will surely embrace a wide spectrum of musical disciplines, classical, jazz, folk, electronic. The possibilities are absolutely endless. I'm so excited to be part of this and really hope you can be too. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Joan. And what you described there, I think, sums up very eloquently exactly what we want to achieve with the new space. It's going to be vitally important for the department, but in fact, the whole university community and beyond as well. Thank you. So now we've come to the part of the proceedings where we have some time for questions, and we would be very happy to take these if you would like to post them in the chat. You may need to open the chat, which you'll find if you hover around the bottom of the screen, there's a little icon that says chat, and then you can type your questions into there. So I'm going to welcome back our panel, our musicians, of course, the Solem Quartet, Amy, Steph, Stephen and Will, which involves multiple screens, Lizzy Hardingham, Xiaoxiao Hou, you should see them all appearing now, together with our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dame Janet Beer, Joan Rogers and Christina Turner, all live and in person this time. Lovely to see you all. So I'm going to be watching out in the chat, and I think Christina is going to help me with this as well as these come in. And we would be very happy to hear any questions which can either be general, or you may have specific things that you would like to ask of our musicians that are here in front of us. So just while everybody perhaps has a think and gets typing, if your typing is anything like mine, that would take a while perhaps to formulate a question. Perhaps I'd like to start with a question to Joan, and then maybe other musicians would like to chip in about sort of how you've managed to stay active kind of creatively during lockdown, where obviously, you know, the stages that you're used to performing on are really kind of out of bounds. What sort of things have you been up to?
You're asking me, Catherine?
Yes, yeah, if you don't mind.
Well, you know, I'm not singing as much as I used to, but I'm now teaching a lot, and I found that doing online lessons, particularly on FaceTime, is amazing. And I've even managed to teach on WhatsApp video to students in Lithuania and Cyprus, and found that the connection in Cyprus was better than the singer I have in the Isle of Wight. But I find it actually curiously rewarding and very concentrated, and my students say the same thing.
Yes, certainly. That's the feedback we've had in terms of our instrumental lessons as well, that, yeah, it is a very different experience, but yeah, it can be very, very beneficial. Yeah. So would anyone else like to talk about what they've been doing during lockdown? I mean, we've seen some evidence of this, of course, but anything else you'd like to add to that?
Like Joan, I think in the quartet we've also been doing quite a bit of teaching, and that's also been quite far-flung. Some of my students have been in Malaysia and South Korea, and I've had to be careful with timing them at the right time of the day. But it's been actually quite amazing to see the results and see that it is possible. And of course, when you take travel time out of teaching, actually there's even been some extra time to devote to it, and in some ways there's been benefits to it. And then of course with the quartet we've also been getting involved in learning new technology, learning how to use Logic and to multi-track and to be able to make music together from a distance.
Yes, and I think that the Bill Withers track, it kind of went viral, didn't it? I mean, it was featured in the Strad and all sorts of things. So that was really super.
That was fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been. I'm not sure it's quite gone viral yet, but maybe we can all help it today. Yeah, it was quite a steep learning curve because we've all had experience of being on one side of the recording situation where we're playing and we're going into the producer's room and listening back and sort of have some insight into it, but obviously none of us had actually done any of the technical work before. So it was quite a steep learning curve to get used to that. But as many musicians, I'm sure you will have seen lots of those split screen videos. It's something that a lot of musicians have been working on, and I think it's nice to learn that side of our industry that we wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to do otherwise.
And it's worth mentioning that it is quite time consuming. I think a lot of assumptions have been made that it's possible to sort of collaborate in real time in a way that we're conversing now. But actually the ways of doing that, I mean, it's really not possible to play very much. I heard one great example actually last week of some jazz musicians collaborating on a very slow blues over the internet, and that just about worked. But anything that requires that precise synchronization, it needs a lot of that post-production work. What about Lizzy or Xiaoxiao? What sort of things have you been up to?
Well, I've had a bit more time to do things like recording things that I haven't necessarily had time to, and because I have spent time in the past recording, I already sort of have those skills. I've actually found, because I think a lot of children especially won't be hearing as much music if they're not in school and they're not from a musical family. I took the time to record some children's songs and I released those in the hope that maybe some of those children would get an exposure to some sort of suitable but also light-hearted music. So I absolutely love the fact that I've had the time to do something that I've been thinking about for years, and spend an appropriate amount of time devoting myself to it. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to do that, really. But the same as everyone else, really, learning how to make a split screen video and learning all those new things, and really sort of broadening, trying to take the time and use it gainfully to broaden my skill set, really.
That's absolutely super. And yeah, those of us that are homeschooling at the moment, I mean, any and every resource is very, very welcome. So no, that's super. And we should come to Xiaoxiao. And there's also a question for you that has come up in the chat, Xiaoxiao. So you could tell us also about what you've been up to recently. I mean, clearly you've got a PhD on the go, so that keeps you busy. But also perhaps the question is, how long did it take you to learn the instrument?
Thanks for the question. I started playing piano since I was 3 and this Guzheng since I was 5. And after that, I just want to be a top student, so I focus on my academic study. At this moment, I spend most time to be a good student. I spend hours to reading and writing on my review how music influences people with dementia. And at the meantime, I'm a volunteer with Mercy Care NHS, so I doing check and chat with a person to make sure they are well during the lockdown time.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I know a lot of our students have been using their skills in all sorts of ways to diversify in the contributions they're able to make, you know, beyond music as well. Now that another one of our PhD students has been coordinating making scrubs for NHS as well. So there's all sorts of amazing projects going on. There's another question that's come up in the chat, which might be one for Christina, actually, if you don't mind, which is about EU funding.
Yes, it's a good question, Flo. We have absolutely looked into EU funding. We have a dedicated trust and foundations manager in my team whose job it is to look at different grant funders. So we're looking into it. Unfortunately, I have nothing to announce yet, but hopefully in the future. But thank you very much for the question, and you raise a great point.
And I know it's something, obviously, we're very keen to keep our links with the EU. And I don't know if, Janet, you want to come in and say anything about that, but certainly at departmental level, we've got some very strong partnerships with, for example, Potsdam in Germany, the University in Reykjavik in Iceland. And we're very, very keen to keep those partnerships going.
Yes, I've done a lot of talking to my opposite numbers in a variety of different European countries, and I'm always keen to emphasize that whilst the UK may be leaving the EU, we're not leaving our partners, and we're certainly not leaving the collaborative, you know, gene that runs right through the University of Liverpool. So, you know, my main concern now is finding ways to not only consolidate existing partnerships but build new ones, to make sure that we, you know, that we don't let the ready access to that stream of funding through the EU put us off finding other means of working in terms of enriching the lives of our students as well as our staff and our research. And I know that, you know, there are many research partnerships that are vital in Europe at the moment in terms of the work that we're doing that's directly related to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. There was a question in the chat which Xiaoxiao has answered, so thank you very much, Xiaoxiao, it's very helpful. But it is a sort of broader question, perhaps, about how our department interacts within the university and the other opportunities that there are. And we're very lucky, actually, in terms of vocal music, that we have a choral director on staff who looks after our choirs for us. And the choirs and the students that are involved in them, obviously it includes our students that are specialising in singing as part of their degree, but in fact it draws together students from right across the university. And I think somebody said in those initial videos that, I think it might have been you, Joan, talking about medics and dentists being great musicians, and it does often seem to be the way. And we know that we've got great populations of medics and dentists at the university who make really important contributions to our choirs, our orchestras, and our other collaborative ensembles. And that's something that I think is quite special about the role that music can play in a university where everyone, you know, by day is studying all these plethora of subjects, but then can come together in different ways through music and sport. And I guess that's one of the reasons why having this facility is so important in terms of the wider ambitions of the university as well. We've got some other questions here, which I'm just going to pick up. This one's from, I think it's from Jonathan Rushworth. So hello, Jonathan. How will the new concert hall enhance the reputation of the music department and the university in national and international terms compared to other universities to attract music? Just getting a little bit. Presenter might want to just mute, just so that we avoid that. Yes, I mean, it's absolutely, I'll start off, but then maybe Christine or Janet would maybe want to come in on that. I mean, it is a sort of benchmark having this kind of performance facility for a university with the aspirations that we have. It's something that we know is obviously going to attract the best music students. But as I was just saying, with reference to the medics and the dentists and people studying other subjects, we'd like to think that that might be a pull to choose Liverpool, and obviously a great attraction in terms of our international recruitment as well. You know, we know that there are great musicians who will come to the facilities that and the departments that we have across the university, but won't be wanting to give up their music anytime soon, will want great facilities to be able to do that. So I have no doubt that it's going to help in those overall ambitions of the university in that way. If anyone else wants to come in on that, then please.
I think it's also very important in terms of our partnership with the Philharmonic. Many of you will know, and you certainly know, Jonathan, that we run a partnership master's degree in the business of classical music with the Phil. And, you know, despite the magnificent auditorium being practically next door to the university and the venue for our graduation ceremonies, we are still short of that kind of performance space in Liverpool. And this will be a really great addition. And, you know, I hope our partners at the Phil will be using it as well. And the Philharmonic does such great work in the community, you know, through their Everton programme with, you know, the very youngest children getting access to musical education and instruments that they otherwise couldn't afford. So I think it will extend our work in the community, you know, in the local community, and the kind of work, build on the kind of work the Phil does. But it will also, I think, provide a really exciting world-class venue, and as Catherine said, add to the, you know, the cultural offer in Liverpool.
Yeah, and our partnership with the Philharmonic is really central to our work as a department, and increasingly to the university too, as well as those initiatives that Janet has mentioned. They've got an increasing focus on musicians' health and well-being, and we're hoping as a university to be able to contribute to that project, which already provides some great services in terms of musicians' you know, physical and mental health. As we know, sort of sitting here doing this is not a natural thing. Our bodies were not designed for that, so we have to, you know, as musicians, take care of our bodies as athletes would. And the profession has been, I think, relatively late in kind of getting around to taking that very seriously, but the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic is at the forefront of that, and that's definitely something where we can collaborate through in the future. I think there's one for Christina there. You've mentioned some ways in which as individuals we can assist. Is there any way we can also do this as a group?
Again, a great question, Flo. So I think as individuals, you know, it's very important that you continue to share this amongst your networks, your friends and family. But I would say if you are a member of any particular groups, whether that's a musical group, an ensemble, or a particular professional network, actually you can introduce this campaign to those groups and ask those individuals to act as ambassadors. You know, we do have formal ambassadors, and that's very important to us. But certainly our community, our worldwide community of alumni and donors can equally act in various ways. So, you know, we have nearly 17,000 graduates across China. Many of them are Chinese musicians, and they're in ensembles, and they're acting in informal ways to network this campaign out more broadly. So I would say, think about the groups you're involved in, think about your networks. If you're on social media, we would love for you to share the details of this campaign. Following today's event, we will send you the live recording, and we'll make sure that you're aware of all the different social media hashtags, different ways that you can share it online, and equally you can hit forward on the recording. I think we might have the right kind of license to do that, because it's all about word of mouth also. So I think don't underestimate the power you have individually to influence people to support us. So thanks again, Flo, for your question and continued engagement and support of the university.
Yes, thank you very much indeed for that. So I think we're sort of coming close to the end of our time now, but if there are any more questions, do feel free to type them quickly in the chat. But I think it would be good again to hear from our musicians. You know, we've heard you play, and it's I think a wonderful opportunity to hear you talk as well. It's a great opportunity to engage in this way, I think. And I think while we're thinking about spaces and kind of being exiled from perhaps our favourite spaces, I wonder if you could each think about where your favourite spaces would be to play. What are those spaces that you're perhaps really missing in these times? And then we'll just see whether we can fold it all into the new auditorium. I don't think that's really possible now, but it would be nice. Stephen?
I think particularly for us as a quartet and being chamber musicians, we're used to playing in a wide variety of spaces in terms of size. Large concert halls, but moreover sort of smaller, more intimate settings, which of course is where chamber music is meant to be enjoyed, really. So I think I speak for my colleagues when I say that those kind of smaller spaces, more intimate concert halls are what we miss most. And of course this theatre is an excellent example of that, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we're making some great demands in terms of the flexibility of that space to move from that chamber music, that intimate feel, to obviously being able to encompass some of our larger student ensembles as well. So, what about Xiaoxiao? Where are you missing? Where are you missing playing at the moment?
I really missing the practice room 5. I usually left my instrument in the practice room 5. It's very big and sunlight, and I really enjoy it.
I like practice room 5 too. I'm with you on that. Thank you. It's lovely to find these spaces that we call our own, and anyone who's been through University or Conservatoire music will know about getting the best practice room or getting the one that you like. It's really important.
That's the first place I'm going to visit when we're out of lockdown. I want to see the magic of practice room 5.
You're very welcome as always. Lizzy, what about you?
Well, I mean, quite similar to the quartet, I perform in quite a wide variety of spaces, mainly folk clubs, but of course that takes an awful lot of different forms, you know. But I had quite a few concerts lined up in quite large churches, and I'm sure most people will know that obviously church acoustics are more often than not absolutely gorgeous. So I think that's what I'm really missing, is hearing a really, really sort of wet acoustic sound, and hearing my own voice and usually audience members singing back at me. So I think that really lovely, beautiful acoustic is what I'm actually missing, and especially hearing an audience within that acoustic.
Yeah, it's that feeling of being all together in the space, isn't it? Yeah. I think. And finally, Joan, what about you? I mean, all the places that you've sung in, could you pick one out of all that lot?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, my favourite venue is the Wigmore Hall. It's like when you find the sweet spot in there. You could have a terrible voice and still sound good in there, I think. But it's just the most beautiful hall, and I feel like the walls are absolutely saturated with the sounds of all those fantastic musicians who played and sung there, you know. So, but I love the Liverpool Phil, by the way. I mean, I'm not just saying that out of loyalty. I was so thrilled having been a student at Liverpool University and attending concerts there, and then, you know, getting my degree in there. But then I ended up performing there, which I was really chuffed about.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And thank you again to all our musicians, and indeed to all our panellists this afternoon. So just to close then, I would like to just end by thanking everyone who has worked so hard to bring this event to fruition. It requires a lot of dedicated help and support, particularly on the technical side of things, but of course particularly to our musicians for giving up their time today, and to having recorded these fantastic performances for us. I think it's been a wonderful hour of live music making, and great to have the updates on how everything is going with the building. And so I'd just like to say to everybody attending, thank you very much for being here with us, and I hope you will stay safe and well, and we're all really looking forward to connecting with you in person before too long. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.